Okay, so in this video, we are going to talk about the request for bringing a friend along on the first date. And this is what Reekay has to say about it.
Question was, what if it's a first date and the Filipina you're talking to says, "Oh, do you mind if I bring along?" And then it could be her friend or roommate or cousin or aunt. What is the proper way to respond to that? Now, I've heard other guys respond to this and they just flat out say, well, never allow someone else to come along. But again, that's like a baby with the bathwater response. The actual answer depends on what type of dating are you doing when you're talking to this Filipina. Now, if you're just
Yeah, no, he's totally right. It depends on what kind of dating you're looking for. If you're just looking for play, um, the answer is probably a no. Don't bring along another person. But if it's a father or mother or parent, you gotta be a little more tactful, a little more careful. I'll tell you my kind of polite response after you watch a little more of this video.
dating for fun, if you just contacted a really pretty girl on one of the dating sites and your only intention, you're not looking for a relationship. If your only intention is you want to meet up, have some light lunch or something, invite her to your hotel or condo, have some fun, if that is your only objective, then the answer is no. Do not let her bring someone along. Because during the small amount of chatting that you're going to do prior to meeting up with them, and just to review, this is something you do when you're actually in the Philippines. This does not apply if you're chatting Filipinas from thousands of miles away. Because if you're just in it for recreational dating,
Yeah, as Rike says, don't even talk about it if you're long distance. I mean, this is only if you're local and you're gonna meet the person face to face.
the goal is to chat as little as possible and then transition into meeting in person. So the way this should typically go is you chat maybe for 30 minutes. And then you say, okay, well, hey, let's meet tomorrow, or let's, if it's early in the day, if it's 11 in the morning, transition to, hey, I'm going to get lunch at 2 o'clock. You want to meet me at the such and such Jollibee, or do you want to meet me for coffee over at Bo's Coffee or Starbucks? You don't want to waste a whole lot of time chatting. But in that small amount of chatting, you do want to make it clear that you're not looking for a relationship. And if they are okay with that, which many are, well, now you have the same ground rules for meeting up.
Well, Enrique is very honest. He's very frank. I think he's a little too direct, frankly, but that's up to you. You know, telling a girl you're not interested in long-term relationships could be a little tough on the girl because most Filipinos, at least the ones that I've met, they're interested in long-term relationships. Unless you're just looking or you're talking to a party girl that's really just obviously in it for the play, you should be a little careful with being blunt and honest about your intentions. I mean, it's always good to be honest, but it's also good to be polite. You don't have to throw something in their face that they're not going to like. Yeah, anyway, that's just my opinion.
So if you tell a Filipina in your chat prior to meeting, I'm not looking for a long term relationship, I am looking for some companionship. If you and I can hit it off, then that would be great. Let's meet up for some lunch or something and see how it goes. Now, in this sort of scenario, if you get there and it turns out, yeah, you do like her and you do want to spend time with her, having a third wheel tag along is totally going to kibosh your transition to go from the meetup to inviting her to your place. because you don't need to wait a day and invite her on another date and then ask her to your place. If everything looks copacetic when you first meet, you can finish up that coffee date with any excuse to come to your place. They are not going to ask. They're waiting for you to invite them. Again, you both met there with the understanding that neither of you is expecting a relationship. You're both there dating for fun. And I am not kidding. It really doesn't matter what your reason is when you invite them to your place. You could say, I'll give you a ride home, but I need to stop at my place first. And if they're just there for fun, they'll say, okay. You can say, I have a swimming pool at my condo. You want to see it? Now, they didn't even bring...
Yeah, you can quickly tell by the intentions of the girl when she starts asking why should she come back to your apartment. That means that she's not just a playgirl, because playgirls, they don't care what the reason is. They just want to play, and if it's all good in the direction of visiting your home, they'll take any excuse. But if the girl starts saying, "Oh, I'm not sure about that," it's probably because she's traditional and she's more a serious girl, or a girl looking for a long-term relationship. And it depends what you're looking for. You can. It's a way to measure the girl's true heart or true intentions, just like he says.
A bikini, but again, they just need an excuse to tell their friends, well, I only went there to see his pool, and then, stuff happened. Women want to have...
Yeah, it's funny that women make the excuse for the body count and say stuff just happened. I've heard that so many times. Even from serious women, they just... That's a common phrase, a common excuse. Stuff just happened. Of course, stuff never just happens. It's, what people want to do.
That position of plausible deniability. They want to be able to sell the story to their friends. I didn't go there expecting something to happen. I'm not that kind of girl. But, he invited me to look at his pool, and well, stuff just happened, and he's the one. Blame him. It's all a charade, but you gotta go along with it. And I put this to the test. I even one time told a Filipina that I had, again, just barely had coffee with. She said, oh, where do you live? It's a general enough question that she can say, well, I didn't have any bad intent. But she just goes, oh, well, where do you live? I said, well, right now I'm staying at such and such condos. And right away I followed that up with, you want to see my furniture? It was the dumbest thing that I could come up with, because I wanted to see if she would question, why would I want to look at your furniture? And yet...
Yeah, that's a very dumb reason for going to your apartment. I would make it more legitimate or more reasonable. Say something like, do you want to see the city view from my condo, or something like that. But Filipinos, they also do like to swim. That could be a good reason for visiting the apartment where you live. So that's, but of course, when you go out for a date, you don't usually have or the girl usually doesn't have a bikini with her. So that's probably an issue for the second date or the third date, not for the first date when the girl doesn't have a bikini or swimwear with her.
Without skipping a beat, she said, yeah, that would be cool. And off we went. So back to the question, if you're just setting up a date with the intention that this is not serious, this is just recreational dating, you're in it for fun, she's in it for fun, if at the last minute, or even right away before the meetup, and I've had women do this, even texting me 10 minutes before we arrive, oh, I've got my friend with me, she's in the jeepney, it's okay if she's there, right? In these situations with recreational dating, the answer is no. I want to meet you. I want to talk to you. I don't want to meet your friend. So if
Yeah, Reekay is being very harsh, but of course he's truthful and honest. The way I find that it's more polite and seems to work very well is when the girl requests to bring along a friend and you don't want it, you can simply say, I'd like to learn more about you. Bring your friend on the second date, sort of indicating that you're not just looking for play, you're not looking for a one time meeting, you're looking for a follow up, even planning it, so to speak, before you even finish the first date. So the more polite response should be, yes, you can bring your friend along on the second date, but on the first date, I'd like to learn more about you, which to me that sounds very polite and very reasonable. That you're not just a play or a party guy, and 9 times out of 10, the girl will respond positively to it, and even if she does not respond to it right away, you can usually tell by the next day whether she liked the response or not. Sometimes when a girl doesn't like your response, she will not say, "Oh, sorry, I don't want to meet you." If you have that attitude, they won't say it to your face, but by the next day they'll stop messaging you, or they'll lose interest. So you can come back on the second day and say, "Oh, okay, I've thought about what you requested, and it's okay. You can bring along one friend, not two, not three, and we can have a good talk."
if you can't come on your own, then I'm just going to have to cancel. Now, at that point, she's got to decide whether she's going to fish or cut bait. Because if the only reason she agreed to meet with you is so that her and her friend could maybe get a freebie meal at a nice restaurant, she's not somebody you want to deal with anyway.
Yeah, you got to be careful with some of these Filipinos. They are poor, hardworking people, but they sometimes will see an opportunity to bring a friend along for a free meal. And I've had I don't know how many, but like a small crew of people showing up for a date on the first date because I agreed to the friend coming along, and we were going out for a nice restaurant in Greenbelt Makati. So that you got to be careful. You got to watch out for that, because if you can smell that it's just a scam and she just wants to bring her friends along for some free food, yeah, that's probably not a good girl to hang out with, because there'll be more suggestions in the future, like going out for a trip to a vacation spot outside the major city where you live. It could be a number of things where you start opening yourself up to being a walking ATM machine, and you don't want to sort of lay the groundwork or foundation for the relationship based upon spending lots of money, and she's getting used to you being a rich, quote unquote, foreigner.
Now, if she cuts her friend loose and says, oh, okay, I was just asking, and then she meets you there, just her on her own, well, now you're back in business. Now, in the learning curve of my dating time.
Yeah, and one time I remember I met a girl. She agreed to come alone. She had requested to bring a friend, and she agreed to come alone. And then she shows up, gets out of the taxi with another person, with a friend. And I just simply, because I was kind of tired and grumpy and fed up, probably I wouldn't be so rude normally, but I just told her straight to her face, "Sorry, I'm leaving now. You told me you're coming alone and you're bringing a friend. Here's some money to take taxi, and goodbye." So I was very harsh at that time, but it did happen where the girl actually lied to me she said she was coming alone, and then she brought a friend instead. So you gotta be on your toes. I mean, don't let a pretty face push you around. I mean, there's plenty of fish in the sea, so just be firm and understand your own requirements, but be polite.
I've tried it both ways. Now, there is the small chance that you'll have the situation I had, but I only had it happen one time since 2012. Same scenario. I told her, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm looking for someone to hang with that's cool. She agreed, and I said, tell you what, we'll go over to Chowking. For those of you who don't know, Chowking is a very inexpensive pseudo Chinese franchise. I mean, you can get a meal there for.
Yeah, most foreign guys, they think taking a Filipina out for a fast food restaurant is like a slap in the face. You know, you're not treating the girl respectfully. You're not taking her out to a nice restaurant. We Westerners, we are used to taking the girl out for an expensive dinner and an expensive adventure. But Filipinos, they're very simple-minded. They actually love going to Jollibee or some of the fast food restaurants like Chowking that Reekay mentioned in the video. But generally, I don't recommend doing that. What I recommend or what I suggest is meeting them for coffee, for lunch, or something like that. Don't even plan on an expensive dinner and a dinner date. Just go for a simple coffee. I mean, Starbucks here in Philippines for a cup of coffee, it's about the same as the U.S. actually, maybe a little bit lower, but it's pretty expensive. And yeah, it's not a full day's salary for a Filipino to get a cup of coffee in Starbucks. Because the minimum wage here at least in Manila is about, well, around 600 pesos a day. So you don't need to pay 600 pesos for a cup of coffee. It's not a full day wage for a Filipino. But you probably end up spending 200 or 300 pesos. So it's a half day wage for a Filipino. And sometimes I wonder, I see Starbucks is always full of Filipinos. I'm wondering are they saving their month salary and coming out to Starbucks once a month to spend a major portion of their salary for a cup of coffee? I find it hard to believe. I mean, if you have good income and excess pocket change on a regular basis from a high salary, yeah, going to Starbucks would be no big deal. But most Filipinos, they don't have a high salary, and yeah, I'm surprised when I see so many people in Starbucks sipping on the coffee and paying the outrageous prices that they demand at Starbucks.
Like $4. It's nothing fancy. So during our chat, because we did meet, like it wasn't even like 3 hours later, during our chat, she said, well, I have this cousin. Do you mind if she comes along? And I thought, sure, why not? Now, this turned out to be a good situation because what was really going on is that the Filipina I was talking to really wasn't into it with me. But behind the scenes, she had shown my profile on Facebook to her cousin, and her cousin was interested. So I arrive at the Chowking, I meet with her and the cousin, we order a little bit of food. I mean, for the three of us, it was like less than $15. And as we're talking, it becomes pretty obvious she's really kind of putting her cousin in the forefront. So
yeah, and when the girl is requesting to bring a father or mother, you got to be a little more tactful, a little more careful with your response. I mean, is the girl traditional and she just wants to bring along a family member to make sure you get the approval from dating this mysterious foreigner? Or is it some sort of scam where they're all together and planning to fleece the foreigner for the money he has? That could be a reason also. the parent could be working together with a girl to try to figure out if he's a good prospect for fleecing. No joke. I've seen that too. So you got to kind of think on your feet here when a request comes in to meet the parents for the first date, or at least probably one parent together with a girl on a first date. You got to be a little tactful and see if the girl is genuinely traditional and she just wants to make sure everything's cool with one of the parents, or if she's just trying to scam you and it's a collaborative effort with the whole family trying to fleece you for some money.
So after we finished eating, I said to her, the one I had chatted, well, if you've got some free time and maybe your cousin could hang out at the mall or something, we could go over to my place and, I could show you my pool. And the response ended up being a surprise to me. She said, oh, I have to go some places, but my cousin, she's got the afternoon completely free. The cousin turns to me and says, yeah, I want to go. I want to check out your pool. And so I ended up taking the cousin home. But
yeah, it's hard for foreigners to come to the Philippines to understand this foreigner effect, or kind of almost like a rock star effect. But it is true. Filipinos, they love meeting foreigners for whatever reason. I personally think it's because we have the perceived aura of being rich. Foreigners are rich, so they want to hang out with people that are rich and potentially could work into a relationship and could potentially work out to be a boyfriend. So it's hard for foreigners to know that until you actually been to the Philippines and see it with your own eyes.
that is a rare situation, and I only fell into it by accident. So, general rule, if you're just recreationally dating, do not let a third wheel tag along. Now, the completely other situation, which requires the opposite answer, is if you're dating with the purpose, as I've talked about before, stage 2, you're dating with the purpose of finding a good relationship. You want to build a future with somebody, but first you got to find somebody that is not crazy, somebody that you would want to spend your time with. So when
Yeah, that's very true. If the girl is traditional and she's somebody you want to get to know better for a long-term basis, yeah, you should entertain the idea of her wanting to bring along a friend or a family member. No, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying if you're here in the Philippines to play, the answer should be bring along your friend for the second date, but on the first date, I want to get to know you better.
When you're dating with the intention of finding a relationship, and they say, and again, we're talking about the first date. If you find somebody interesting for a relationship and she says, well, I want to meet you. Can I bring my sister? Can I bring my friend? Can I bring my mom? Can I bring my aunt? I've had all of these tag along, not all at the same time. In this instance, this is a good sign. And you definitely want to open the door and say, yeah, bring her along, but limit it. Tell her just one person, not the whole family, just your aunt, your cousin, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's so important. I've had dates where I agreed to meet the person, and then suddenly there is a friend who's in the mall nearby calling and asking if she can join us for lunch or dinner. And then even one time it was almost like a joke. Uh, After the first friend joined the table, she gets another call, and there's the aunt and some friend of the aunt that wants to randomly join in and was just happening to be walking through the mall. So that we ended up being 4 people, well, actually four guests or 4 visitors besides myself at the lunch table. So that was kind of too much. But of course you have a sort of a polite conflict in a way, because when you at a lunch table and suddenly she gets a call from a friend or an aunt wondering if they can join in, you could say no. Yes, you could, but the girl is going to be very offended if she cannot entertain her friend or aunt who happens to be walking by. Perhaps she's even getting a lift or a ride from the aunt that happens to be in the same building. So you got to be very careful and play it diplomatically.
It's okay if you bring that one person. In fact, the first date that I had with V, who is now my wife, this was 4 years ago, our very first date, she asked if she could bring her mother along. And I enthusiastically said, yeah, that would be great. Tell your mom we're going to spend the whole day, we're going to hang out, we'll go to a movie and stuff. So I said, yeah, bring your mother along. Because I was looking for a relationship, and the rest was history. Within 10 minutes, her and I are chatting so much, and I take a glance over at the mother. I've totally got her approval. In fact, she's taking pictures, and I can tell she's just thinking to herself, yep, this is going to be my new son-in-law. She was totally giving her 100% approval, observing how V and I just got along so well, so quickly. Now, I will again just emphasize set boundaries. If they want to bring their cousin, their sister, their mom, whatever, and you're looking for a relationship, that is totally fine. It'll make them feel comfortable, it'll make them feel safe. The answer is yes. However, one Filipina that I chatted with, we agreed that we would meet the following day at the Seaside Mall over there on the south end of Cebu City. And at first it was going to be the two of us. But within less than 24 hours, I kept getting message after message. First it was, can I bring my sister along? And I said, yeah, that's fine. But then came another message like a couple hours later. Well, what, if I bring one sister, the other sister's going to be jealous. So can I bring both my sisters? And I said, well, I really wanted to get to know you. I want to have private conversation with you.
Yeah, this is so important. You got to make clear with the girl that if she brings a friend, there's a limit. Tell her very straight and blunt, kind of, that if she brings more than one person, you're going to walk away. You're not going to pay the bills. That will be a bit rude, but make it clear to her that it's okay to bring one, but if she brings more, you're not going to be happy.
I don't see how we're going to do that with your two sisters there. Now, I would have thought she'd have figured out that means no, but she didn't. So about 6 hours the next day before we were supposed to meet in the late afternoon, now she's saying, well, if you are serious about relationship, my parents want to meet you. And my brothers, and so her brothers and sisters she wanted to invite along. So I said, how many people do you plan to bring with you? She said, is only 8 with parents and my brothers and sisters. And as you can guess, that's when I said, we're done. We're not going to meet. And even then she said, what do you mean we're not going to meet? I said, cancel. I won't be there. I'm not going to entertain your entire family on a first date. That is not going to happen. That is not how I do things.
Yeah, that's a bit too much, the story that he just describes. He did correctly decline that date.
And so I ended it, and I never did bothered making the drive out to Seaside Mall because there was no way I was going to get shanghaied into taking an entire family out to some restaurant because that's what they insist on. Don't let yourself get put into that situation. So to recap, if you're just playing around and you want to do that first date with a Filipina, keep it a simple, inexpensive date. Because if you go and have a first date and you've already set it up and said, oh, that really nice seafood restaurant? Yeah, let's meet there. Well, as you know can happen, you can meet and within 30 seconds, I don't want anything to do with this woman.
Yeah, that's another good point he's talking about here about, you look at the profile, you talk a little bit on the video call, and everything looks great. You're both looking forward to meeting, and then she shows up, and either yourself or her, you just don't get along, or you can tell that she's not the item, or she's not the girl for you. So don't make it an expensive affair or timely affair, because if you go for dinner, not only is it more expensive, but it takes time. Your time is valuable. So, if you're going to sit there for an hour or 2 hours for dinner with somebody you have no connection with, you can't even make a joke with or have some enjoyable time, it's not really worth it. It's much easier for everybody, all parties, just to have a quick coffee at Starbucks. Even though it's expensive by Filipino standard, it's probably cheap by compared to a full dinner. So you can quickly figure out if you want a second date after Starbucks and a coffee, and then go for a long dinner or expensive dinner, and you can just avoid these long, boring dinners with a person you don't really get along with. So he's totally correct. Reekay's totally correct.
She doesn't even look like she looked on her profile. But now you've already committed to this expensive meal. So that's why you keep it at something simple. I mean, even Bo's Coffee or Starbucks is a treat for most Filipinas. To get yourself a nice mochaccino or whatever is practically a full day's wage for most Filipinos. So even just Starbucks date is a decent date in the Philippines. And if you're dating with the intent of really getting to know and to some degree proving yourself, then don't worry about them inviting one other person. Again, could be an aunt, a sister, a cousin, a roommate, the mother, but not the whole family.
Yeah, thank you, Reekay.